This law firm began in 1971 as Kraft & Hughes. It was the first public finance firm in the state of New Jersey. At the time, Jack Kraft and his first associate, Ed McManaman, began the firm.
Well, my relationship with the firm started in 1973 when I was an intern. And at that point, the firm consisted of Mark Hughes, Jack Kraft, Ed McManaman, and Peter O'Neill. And the firm grew from the 4 people when I was there until we had almost 60 lawyers at a point in time when we decided it was in our collective interest to split up the firm.
I interviewed with the firm, and at the time it was Kraft & Hughes in November, I believe, of 1987. I interviewed with Mark Hughes, Ed McManaman, and Jack Kraft. The following day, I received a call from Ed McManaman advising me that the firm had just split up, and he offered me a position under the new name of Kraft and McManaman. I saw that the firm had gone from a very large firm to a much smaller firm, and I saw that as really a golden opportunity to come in and to help build the firm to the next level.
The firm has always shown a willingness to take chances on new attorneys and develop new areas of law. And we've done that through lateral hires, we've done that through mergers, and you have to try and be innovative. You can't just stay the same. And the firm has always learned something from bringing somebody in or having a merger.
The history of the firm is certainly not a straight line by any stretch of the imagination, right? It's a winding road that had some people join it and mergers, and then people leave it along the way. The core ultimately never really changing, the people that became committed to the core staying. But we certainly have had a winding road, which in many ways defines us as well. Every one of those mergers and hires have resulted in the group of people that are here today, which is much more dynamic than it was in 1992. In 1992, we were primarily a public sector firm, with the addition of an environmental group, a debtor-creditor group, a litigation group, a corporate group. We are now a full-service public and private sector law firm, but we all still share that DNA that came out of that public sector beginning.
These are great people. I mean that seriously. They're just the salt of the earth, and everyone I've ever dealt with here.
The firm has certainly benefited from great leadership over the last 50 years. You don't survive as long as we have, really thrive as long as we have, without great leadership. Whether that was Jack Kraft at the evolution of the firm, Ed McManaman and Glenn Scotland along the way, and certainly for the last almost 20 years now, Joe Bauman as our leader.
And Joe started at the firm about 1.5 years after me, and I could tell from day one that Joe was going to be a star, and it doesn't surprise me that he's helped take this firm to where it is now and has his name on the door. He's just a terrific guy, terrific attorney.
I think of him as like the epitome and the embodiment, like the physical embodiment of those main principles and characters that I think this firm is based on.
Any conversation about the culture of the firm, the evolution of McManaman, Scotland, and Bauman has to include a conversation about Leslie London, John Cavalier, and Bill Northgrave. These are 3 lawyers who've had immense impact on the firm. They've been here in many cases as long as I have. Leslie London had a groundbreaking career. She is the hardest working lawyer at this law firm, has always been. Bill Northgrave is our counsel. He has a judgment and an ability to see through complex problems, a litigator who's had success at every level, including in front of the Supreme Court. And John Cavalier, who for many years was also a member of the executive committee guiding the future of this firm. All 3 of those individuals have to be in the conversation about the culture and how this firm came from Kraft & Hughes to the MS&B law firm it is today. In a lot of ways, 1992 was a pivotal year for this law firm. That was the year we became McManaman and Scotland. It was pivotal because we went from a firm that was growing, that had all the years of expertise, back down to a niche firm of 13 or 14 lawyers who began to grow what is today McManaman, Scotland, and Bauman. That year those 13 or 14 lawyers, which were anchored by Ed McManaman, Glenn Scotland, and Ajir Khan, three of the most critical members of this firm, the people who helped build this foundation, that really set the firm on a trajectory to be the firm that we are today.
An attorney's ability to evolve over time within the firm is a key component of the firm's culture. It was so clear to me, even from my first interview here, that the firm would embrace and support and cultivate a lawyer's growth in multiple practice areas within one career. And it provides an energy and an excitement to come into work every day that never goes away.
It's always been a family type atmosphere, people very casual and also serious when it's time to be serious.
The firm has always made an effort to get people together outside of the office because that's important too. People work hard here, but it's also nice to play together because it brings out a side of people that you don't get in the office. And so the firm has made a concerted effort to have events that people can enjoy, whether it's a day at the beach, going to Ed's house down in Long Beach Island, casino nights, theater events, an event at Joe's house.
The diversity of the employees and the way everyone got along, the way everybody worked together, I thought that was very impressive. I used to say that this is the way the world should be.
Ed really laid the foundation for this firm, right? Ed laid the groundwork for what this firm as an institution would be, that it would be a firm based on reputation and skill and passion and sense of family. And what he did is he hired dynamic lawyers that matched that value system and those principles. And that's what Andy was, and then that's what Glenn was. But Andy wasn't hired because she was a female and would become a good woman lawyer. She was made a partner and was the first female partner here because she had those values, because she knew and could carry on the foundation of reputation and skill and passion and family.
I have to say I'm very happy to be part of a firm that promoted diversity, particularly at the time when I became a partner. I think I was maybe the third woman of color at a major firm to ascend to partnership. And the firm to this day continues to try to get the best people that they can, and also to be diverse in doing so.
Historically, our firm has done a great job of promoting and hiring people of color. We've done that organically. But today is a new day. In my role as Chief Diversity Officer, it's my goal that the firm be more purposeful and intentional of our efforts in diversity, equity, and inclusion.
One of the things that I think really does stand out at this law firm is the commitment of every single person to the enterprise and to the clients, whether it's finance, whether it's administration, whether it's the staff, the paralegals, the legal assistants, the lawyers, the partners, the associates. Everyone is laser focused on providing the best services for our clients.
The firm of McManaman, Scotland, and Bauman, I feel, is a one-call, does-it-all shop. From financing a project, through the construction of the project, right to the ribbon cutting, the firm is always there for us.
The reason that I choose the firm is because they not only have the legal capacity, they have the financial bandwidth as well. And so when I look at the firm, I look at a firm that can provide advice and counsel on many areas. And so some of that is legal, some of that is on the redevelopment law, and other times it's just good, sound financial advice as we're moving through these projects.
The depth and breadth of our public finance practice is almost immeasurable. Over the past 50 years, we have represented virtually every county in the state. We've represented hundreds of municipalities and school districts. We've represented the state in almost every one of its agencies, all in an effort to raise money and build infrastructure that serves the residents and the visitors of this state, be it roads, schools, water and sewer systems, you name it, we've had an impact, and that impact has impacted the citizens of this state.
I think it was pretty easy to look at across the landscape of New Jersey and point to successful projects that the firm was involved in. They've done this already. This is not new to the firm. This is just another indication of their success. And when you look across the state, you look and you say, what do you like? I like this town, I like that town. And every time I ask Joe, it's, yeah, we worked on that, or, you know, we had a part in that.
So if you talk about McManaman and Scotland and Bauman, you need to talk about redevelopment, because redevelopment is in many ways the mark we've made on New Jersey and New Jersey's landscape. We've been lead counsel on behalf of public and private sector clients on some of the most iconic projects in New Jersey. The revitalization of Newark with the Rock, the 555 American Dream project, which will become iconic in New Jersey over the years, the numerous affordable housing projects up and down the state, the schools that have been built with our expertise, the warehouses, the jobs that have been created, the contaminated sites that have been cleaned up, the downtowns, the center of towns that are completely different now than they were 20 years ago because we were involved in those projects.
Glenn helped me take East Orange from $100 million in private investment to over $1 billion in private investment. And now I'm in the city of Plainfield. We were at about $400 million in private investment, and now we're well over $1 billion. We have about 2,500 units under construction right now. And so it's a very exciting time.
We began as a public sector firm, and that's really important to understand who we are today. As a public sector law firm, you don't just represent the school district or the municipality or the state. You're really representing the people that live in those towns, the people that live in New Jersey, the taxpayers. Those are our neighbors, those are our friends, those are our family members. That's a whole different level of responsibility that is embedded in who we are and defines how we practice law today.
And I think that's really what makes this work exciting, particularly with regard to redevelopment, because you're shaping communities, you're shaping the world, and it's just fun, you know.
In order to understand this law firm, you need to understand its foundation, a foundation that was built on 3 pillars: Ed McManaman, Andrea Kahn, and Glenn Scotland. Those 3 individuals made us who we are today.
Ed is nationally known as an expert in public finance. Nationally known as an expert in public finance. Also in New Jersey, he's recognized as the Dean of Public Finance, but he's also so well respected as an individual.
The thing I love about Ed is, if you think about it, I mean, Kraft & Hughes was the beginning of this firm. Been around for 50 years. Ed's been doing this for 50 years. In essence, he's not only provided like 50 years of consistency, but also of decency. Ed is a great person. He's a good man. He's a great lawyer.
In so many ways, the heart of this law firm really begins with Ed McManaman. It's his thought and care for the firm and the people at the firm that has allowed it to flourish, that has allowed it to grow, that has allowed each one of us to be the best that we can be.
Ed is responsible for taking this firm from the public finance boutique that it was known for many years and growing that into a full-service public sector law firm, which later evolved into a full-service public-private multidisciplinary law firm.
When you go to local finance board, and usually there's a lot of chatter in the audience, but when Ed comes up to present, we all shut up because we want to hear exactly what he's going to say.
Ed has earned the trust of his clients. He earned the trust of municipalities who came to him and said, I have a public finance problem, or I don't even know if I have a public finance problem, and he created the solution. And any good client relationship starts with earning that trust and that respect. Ed has it from all of those municipal clients. And so naturally, when they turned around, those clients, and said, well, not only do we have that public finance issue, we have a redevelopment issue. We have an abandoned piece of property. We don't know what to do with it. Ed, what do we do? We have a crumbling water infrastructure system that's undercapitalized. Ed, what do we do with it? And so I think our growth out of public finance and into whether it's public-private partnerships, redevelopment, you name it, all of these additional practice areas came from that client base that trusted us and respected us and knew that we could get the job done.
Not only did I work for Ed, I became one of his friends. We would go to dinner together. We would play golf together. Sometimes we'd win as partners. And we particularly liked winning against Matt Jessup.
You would think that Ed's greatest accomplishment would be the most well-respected lawyer in public finance, but that's not his greatest accomplishment. His greatest accomplishment is what he has done to bring along young lawyers and let them flourish.
Ed is an incredible mentor. He is willing to devote his time to ensure that our lawyers are set up for success. And I don't think there's anyone that has more valuable advice to give, more life experiences to learn from, and an entertaining, incredibly entertaining way of telling it than Ed.
Andrea Kahn became a member of this law firm at a time when very few women were members of significant law firms in the state of New Jersey. She was groundbreaking. She is now the leader of the school board public finance practice throughout the state of New Jersey. She was a mentor, an advisor to so many of us at the firm. Her thirst for knowledge, her attention to detail, her work ethic.
I met Andy in either 1979 or 80. I was the CFO for the Township of Verona, and we had recently changed politicians, a new mayor, and he appointed Kraft and Hughes, and they gave us Andrea Kahn as our bonding attorney. She was fabulous. She was young, she was energetic, she was intelligent, she was fun.
She showed me that I could prioritize my career, that I could be dedicated to the work that I'm doing, that I could become a partner and a leader in this firm and in the community.
She brings something to each deal which is different from most people in terms of depth, perception, and you just don't get that with everybody. Most people are according to the book. They do, they go from A to B to C. She goes from A to D and A to Z without stopping in between, and you're trying to catch up because she's that far out ahead of most people. So it's a great learning experience just being with her, working on a transaction.
Andy is known for her intellectual curiosity, her interest in arcane subjects, and her ability to recall something that she read once in a newspaper article 50 years ago. When we were in Newark, she had a closet in her office that was filled with potentially every single newspaper or magazine article that she had read. And she would tell you in a conversation, oh, yes, I read about that in an article, and be able to go into her closet filled with hundreds of articles and find the one that she was looking for that she had read once 40 years before.
In all the years that I worked with Andrea, she was always the smartest person in the room, and she always made all of us look better.
Glenn Scotland is a fascinating person to practice with and to know on so many levels. He was a college athlete, Ivy League educated. He liked basketball and biking. Today it's jazz, yoga, and bridge. As a lawyer, he's really defined his role and this firm as a place that searches for new opportunities, new areas of law to practice.
Ed used to put me with attorneys to make me a better lawyer, and one of the attorneys was Glenn Scotland. Glenn, to me, is one of the brightest attorneys I've ever met, still is. Glenn looks like he's 25, but I'm not sure how old he is. I think he made a deal with the devil.
My father was the chair of the Plainfield Municipal Utilities Authority, and Glenn was the catalyst for the creation of the PMUA. So I came to the firm and had been working here not for very long, maybe a few months. And I wasn't sure at that time whether I wanted to remain on at the firm or do something in a passion area. And so I had this conversation with my dad, And toward the end of what I had to say, my dad just leaned forward, looked me square in the eye, and said, "You stay with Glenn Scotland."
Glenn is well respected by elected officials, by professionals, by his colleagues. Glenn is the go-to person when you have something very difficult to accomplish in a community. And he is very strategic. He helps you think through the issues and help you develop the right approaches. And so Glenn is looked to as an expert.
During negotiations, I'm glad Glenn is on my side of the table. Although Glenn appears to be cool, calm, and collected, Glenn is a great negotiator and always gets us where we need to be.
The thing that all of the projects that Glenn has worked on, large and small, that's really unique to Glenn as a person, is that those projects would not have been realized without Glenn Scotland. They require a high level of creativity, a unique intellect, and a specific perseverance and steadfastness. All of those things have to come together for many of these projects to be realized. And the person that provided that was Glenn Scotland.
Back in 2005, the authority and the town of Harrison, along with Glenn Scotland and the firm, worked toward the redevelopment of a highly industrial section of Harrison. Glenn and the firm worked through agreements relating to the construction of a 1,400-car parking deck and acquisition of land for the Red Bull Stadium. Both projects served as an anchor for the transformation of that industrial property to what it is today.
He is one of the most entrepreneurial lawyers I've ever met. This is a person who began his career as a public finance lawyer, decided that he could become an expert in solid waste law, then redevelopment law, then affordable housing, then representing private sector developers. Every step of the way, relearning their area of practice, going to school to learn how to become a new market tax credit lawyer very late in his career. To this day, seems insatiable in his quest to learn something new, do something different. Again, defining this law firm as a firm that allows people to pursue all sorts of opportunities.
Glenn is not only a professional that I seek out. Glenn has become a friend and a mentor throughout the years. And so when I have tough decisions to make about my career, I go to Glenn and I get great sound advice.
So here we sit 50 years from the inception of this law firm, projecting out the next 50 years. And we're so well set up for another extraordinary period of time for this law firm. Matt Jessup, Leah Sandbank, Bakari Lee, together with Jen Credidio, Chris Langhart, Kevin McManaman, and Jeff Sherry. These are the leaders that will guide this law firm into the future. They are in many ways different than the past, bring a different approach, a whole different background, a whole different view of how the future can progress. And at the same time, they share our fundamental values, our dedication to our clients, our pursuit of excellence, our high ethical standards, all the things that built this firm. So while the future is unwritten, with that foundation and this group of people that are here today, there is no doubt in my mind, it's going to be extraordinary.